Having a powerful laptop with you everywhere is becoming way easier than what it was just a few years ago. And with the introduction of the new Copilot laptops, it's also possible to get them in a super slim chassis, so it's easy to have them with you on the go. This right here is Asus's latest and greatest addition to their ProArt series, the Asus ProArt P16. I've lent it for a few weeks so I could test it out. Right off the bat, I'd like to say that I absolutely love the slim form factor and the low profile design with not that much branding. It's super nice. And the black matte finish is just looking phenomenal. I've been using it as my daily device for the past 2 weeks and it doesn't seem to get all that nasty on either the keyboard or just the finish. So that's super nice. But I'd like to say that I also haven't always used it as a laptop because I find it quite hard to get used to a small laptop screen when I have two massive 32-inch monitors from Dell right here. So whenever I'm at my desk at home, I usually connect mouse and keyboard and use it as a desktop PC connected to my monitors. So it's actually not that often I use it solely with the computer itself. So it would have probably become much more greasy if my hands was always on the handrests all the time when I was using it, but they just aren't. Now, let me just quickly tell you some specs so you know what model I'm working with here. It has an AMD Ryzen AI9 HGX 370, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070, 64GB LPDDR5X, 7500 MHz RAM and 2 TB of storage. So it's spec'd out quite a lot. So I actually don't seem to have that many problems when editing videos on the device at all. And if I intend to game on the device, it would also do really well. I have no intention of gaming on it, and I also have to send back the device to Asus tomorrow, so I wouldn't be able to test how it performs that in depth. So if I actually have time to get some footage in some games, I'll put it in the video right here. The GPU is of course a laptop GPU, so it won't perform as great as a RTX 4070 within a desktop. Keep that in mind. However, it still performs really great. It has an audio jack stick, a 40GB per second USB 4 Type-C, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A ports, a HDMI 2.1 FRL port, and a SD Express 7.0 card reader. It also comes with Wi-Fi 7, so it can get almost Ethernet-like stability and speed, so incredible port connectivity in general. The screen it has is a 4K 16:10 aspect ratio Lumina OLED touchscreen with 100% DCI P3 color accuracy. I've actually never had a laptop that has touchscreen capabilities, so this is definitely something you have to get used to. But I will say that I actually kinda just prefer to keep my greasy hands away from the screen, simply because I hate having fingerprints on the screen, especially if the sun is hitting it, because it makes it so I can't see anything and it also looks nasty, and I like to keep my things kinda clean. So for the most part, I keep my hands off the screen. It also seems a bit shaky, which I don't like. It's not as bad as a lot of other Windows laptops, but this is a minor thing. I will say that it's a nice option to have available if you're into that. The display is just looking incredible, super sharp in every little corner, and being color accurate is super great for someone like me who's daily either editing photos or videos. So knowing that what you see on the screen actually is how it's gonna end up whenever you upload it to YouTube or create prints is something I truly appreciate. The dial pad that's integrated into the touchpad is really nice, but to me it kinda seems more like a gimmick than something actually useful. And Here's why. The settings and functions you use often within a program is something you usually change to something that's easily available. As an example, WASD and the keys around that area, at least if you're a gamer like me. So having to scroll to the right option and then adjust seems like more steps to do some potentially easy tasks if you just optimize your keybinds to the program you use often. So actually having the option to completely turning it off by sliding your finger in the upper right corner actually is nice, because to me it was more in the way than actually useful. But I'm sure some people will find it super useful, but I just think that there's only a handful of people that say they wouldn't be able to live without it, and I could easily live without it. This is just my opinion. If I had the laptop for longer than 2 weeks, I would, however, definitely optimize the Creator Hub, which is available on the ProArt PCs, because that seems super neat. Especially the color inspiration would be something I would love to explore more. But I actually haven't looked that much into it, simply because I can't keep this PC. The big selling point for these new laptops is absolutely the Copilot integration. And it works great and answers all the questions you have really well and in depth. But I've just noticed that I most of the time actually just need some video tutorials to explain an effect or way to use something. So most of the time I actually just end up going to YouTube anyway, even though what it might have answered were absolutely spot on. So I've actually noticed that I only use it for really simple questions to small problems. But for that purpose, it actually works phenomenal. It really is like having ChatGPT right at your fingertips. It at least haven't said anything super ridiculous yet. But again, it's quite limited what I could test in just 2 weeks, so I might have not explored it completely. The laptop is almost silent all the time. The only few times I've noticed that it speeds up the fans is whenever I'm rendering a project or if I have a lot of heavy effects in After Effects. But it's never like super loud and obnoxious at all. And it also doesn't seem to get hot on the surface of the keyboard, like at all. I haven't noticed anything where it's like super hot. I accidentally dropped it when I first opened it up, but it didn't get a scratch luckily. But from all the claims of dust-proof, scratch-proof, weather-proof and so on, it would have also looked quite bad if it broke, but luckily nothing happened. And now that I mentioned dust-proof, I will say that dust doesn't look as obvious on it, but since it has this nano black coating, it's much more noticeable than on something like my Lenovo laptop that's painted gray, because on that model I never noticed any dust at all. But I do much prefer the look of the ProArt PC. The black as well as the design is just looking spectacular compared to my Lenovo laptop. If I had to choose a keyboard between the Lenovo laptop, the ProArt PC and my MacBook Air M2, I would without a doubt go with the ProArt keyboard. It just feels phenomenal to write on. This small amount that it's heightened more than the MacBook just makes it so much more enjoyable. It really is a great typing experience. I don't know how to explain it more in depth. The speakers on the ProArt PC are also rather good.
Sunlight, so I find it really hard to see anything.
Nothing super spectacular, but that's to be expected from a laptop. It seems to have some more clarity than what I'm used to from my MacBook Air and Lenovo laptop, even though it still isn't a fair comparison since the ProArt PC is in a total different price range. So it kinda makes sense that the ProArt PC is way better than the other two options. The editing program I use most of the time is Premiere Pro. However, I do also use After Effects quite a lot. So I sometimes have some timelines that's pretty tough for the PC to handle. My MacBook Air M2 15-inch sometimes really struggle, so I usually don't use it for editing and actually only mostly for administrative stuff such as answering emails, planning in Notion, watching some YouTube videos and stuff like that, because it really can't handle the footage I throw into the programs. This laptop from Asus does, however, seem to run on par with my desktop PC in most scenarios. It isn't as fast at rendering in general, whether it's pre-renders or exporting a project, but it would absolutely not be anything I would have a problem with if I had to use this as my daily machine going forward. So it handles renders and pre-renders great. The video files I record with my Sony a7 IV FX4 or FX3 cameras are also shot in 10-bit 422x AVC SI 4K in S-Log3. So the codec is quite hard for any computer to handle, but it simply tears through it like a champ. Just to compare it, even though it's not a one-to-one comparison with my MacBook Air M2, I would have to edit in proxies, which is kind of like a dummy version of the video files, just in a much lower resolution on the MacBook Air M2. And actually, speaking of resolution, most of the time it doesn't have any problems running the timeline even in full resolution, which a lot of computers kind of struggle with. Rotoscoping in After Effects also isn't a problem at all. It actually goes quite fast, even though I know it's something that's quite demanding. So that's super nice that it handles that so well. By the way, if you're wondering how I get some of the more unique looking shots in this video, then it's because of these lights from Zhiyuns. Absolutely phenomenal light tubes that has a lot of power and that can go from temperatures like 2700 all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. And they also have the ability to switch the hue to something else like blue, green or pink. If you do a lot of product presentations like me, they are really worth looking into. I have an affiliate link and a 10% discount down in the description if you want to check them out for yourself. Though I don't like to admit it, the reason a lot of people choose the MacBook over a lot of other options like this one is simply because of the design. Yeah, but with this laptop from Asus, I wouldn't mind having it as my main workhorse every day, because it's both sleek and minimal while also being extremely powerful. Yeah, I'm actually kind of sad that I have to return it, because I could easily see it as being my main workhorse. I probably still wouldn't use it at my desk here in my office, simply because my desktop PC is so extremely powerful that it just wouldn't make sense. But on the go, I would definitely use it without a doubt. If it got a little more power in the same chassis, then I would be extremely happy, because everything else about it is just phenomenal. As I've mentioned already, maybe like some of the dial pads and stuff is a little gimmicky, but I could definitely see someone be very happy to use the dial pad on a daily basis. I'm just not that guy. But actually the amount of power it has already would be kind of enough if Adobe just kind of optimized their programs a little better, because I know that a lot of Adobe programs don't actually use the GPU that much, which is kind of sad. So I would love to switch. The issue is just that I've been using their programs for like 6 years by now, so I'm so integrated to that system, and I actually use After Effects a lot. So it would be kind of hard for me to go away from Adobe's programs, even though I actually sometimes really want to. Yeah, that was about it, because I can't really show that much more since I have to return this unit. It has been a very pleasant experience, and I could definitely see myself use a laptop for the foreseeable future as my main workhorse. This one has to go. Too bad. Yeah. If you liked the video, then I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe to my channel down below. And then see you in the next one. I'm out.